Hey, how's it going? I don't generally do many videos like this. I try not to do too many reaction things, but I did one of Gray versus S-Death a while back, and I figured I would eventually at some point do the other two fairy tale related death battles. So I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna do Natsu versus Ace because I'm gonna have way more to talk about when it comes to Urza versus Zoro. There's definitely stuff I want to comment on the Natsu versus Ace, but the Urza versus Zoro one I actually really need to go over. That one will probably be a little bit more meaty than this one, but this one I think will still be good because I don't think a lot of people who don't really follow the series know like the level of gap that would go into this fight. Like if you just watched this, like maybe you didn't watch Fairy Tail, but maybe you watched One Piece, and you watch this video, or even somebody who doesn't watch either, and they go through this, they wouldn't know how like much of a gap Natsu was to Ace even at this time. Not even counting now, because I remember around where Natsu was when this came out. Natsu was still drastically beyond Ace. So seeing this right now, I think is going to be really interesting, just going forward of what I can remember, because I haven't watched this since it first came out. I watched the Natsu versus Ace one and the Urza versus Zoro one time, and I haven't watched them since. But let's go into this and just kind of just go over exactly what it is. I'm going to skip through Ace's part. I'm going to edit that part out, but I'll have Natsu's to see really how kind of accurate they are, and then we'll get to the fight itself. Let's just kind of start it.
A death battle.
Turn it down a little
In
bit
his
so it's not too
infancy,
loud.
Natsu Dragneel was a pretty normal child living in a pretty normal village.
And then a bunch of dragons toasted the town and killed
I feel like just calling him like,
him.
I guess you could kind of say it was normal. We didn't really know anything about his backstory, but yeah, they're known for not doing too great at backstories. Like they're it's usually a pretty rough start when it comes to like animes when it's these guys. They do sometimes they'll do a lot of research when it comes to comics, but when it comes to like manga, they usually don't do a lot. I don't know, it was always really weird when it came to them. Like I remember like some of the deep like looking for scans on and like some of the comic book ones, and then they'll get like stuff messed up. I know in this one they mentioned, I still remember they say Natsu is like a magic bounty hunter or something for his job. It's like, you know, and like they're like using unofficial scans, super old, the dark ones. Natsu's actually a lot taller than that. That's closer to Natsu when he first showed up in the series. If you look at Natsu after the Tartarus arc, like going into Alvarez, and there's like a point where like at the Thanksgiving like festival, right before the fight with the Orochi's fin, you see Natsu's actually a fair good amount taller compared to Lucy than he was a year prior. It's not a time machine. It's a door. It's essentially kind of like how a portal works, but in points of time.
Of course, it was all part of
Only until they get to like Natsu's abilities, because at the time of when this came out, it was in the Alvarez arc. That's factual, because I remember when the Urza versus Zoro one came out, it was while she was like her fight with Irene had just kind of gotten started, like it just started to really pick up. And so that's and this came out about 6 months before then. What was that, around like somewhere around like 20 or so chapters before then. So it was probably around when Universe 1 actually went off, now that I remember, somewhere around that. Either way, like it's they clearly didn't really look into the manga at all to get this, because they would have had all of Tartarus arc feats and half of Alvarez arc feats, and Alvarez arc feats are so much bigger. Like for the most part, every arc jump was big, really, when you kind of look at it, but like to Alvarez was massive. It was a very large jump in power levels. Yeah, the obvious, you know, eating elements, like he's a slayer.
Natsu has a limited pool of magic, but consuming fire actually replenishes it. Not only that,
yeah, just slayers in general.
Types of elemental magic as well, including
not the same thing, because Natsu can't absorb other elements accurately. Like the lightning thing is kind of different. I'm gonna pause it really quick. Actually, no, I'm gonna say that for another video. It's something he can't just do. Like, Natsu can't just eat other people's elements. Like, the hybrid modes really need a concrete explanation because it's something that hasn't been outright stated, but it's been consistently done, always involving like somebody in the locker room and stuff. Either way, it's up for a different video. They really need to like go over his feats, like no, Dragon Force. Granted, his Dragon Force wasn't shown that Natsu had like it active. Like, he didn't have that as something he could do at will at the time, because he didn't show that he could just drop it until his fight with Zeref near the end of Alvarez. But yeah, they're just kind of like talking about general kind of like things of him, but they're not talking about like, oh, he won like general heat feats. That's one of the things that is really kind of like weird. I don't remember if they go over, because obviously if you have a fire-based character, you're gonna want to talk about how like the temperature of their flames and stuff and really kind of compare them. And Natsu's flames have a lot higher level kind of like just straight temperature feats than Ace. Natsu has like higher power level feats than Ace. He's way more durable than Ace. That's like the biggest gap, because that is one thing that like Ace has, and it's generally a normal thing of people who aren't used to taking damage, and elemental intangibles are kind of one of like one of the very regulars of that is they don't generally have a lot of durability because they aren't used to taking damage, where it's like Slayer wizards are built for taking damage. They're built for just getting hit. And Natsu is definitely one of those ones. He is regularly just jumping and getting his head smashed. He's gotten way more intelligent over the years, but he's stayed just showing how much of a beating he can take. And Ace doesn't have that. And that was always one of the things that was really big in this. And I'll mention why that's really is important against Ace, even though Ace, like, you can't hit him with regular physical attacks. But yeah, I'll go over that at some point. I'll wait until we get like later on, because like it's one of those things that if you just read the series you'd know, and it's like, oh yeah, that makes complete sense. Yeah, they aren't going over stuff like, I don't even think they mention Ikusa Tsunagi, because Natsu, when he took him out, Ikusa Tsunagi is like made of some form of stone, and he's like a mile plus tall. Like, his head is all the way to the clouds. He's huge. It's really weird. One of the things that's really weird is they use the manga. I'm gonna skip over Ace, but one thing is they used the manga, but they used fan translations at one point, so they had way further than where officials were at the time, but they didn't talk about like anything really outside of like high end, other than Natsu's Fire Dragon King mode. They don't really go over like exactly how powerful it is. Like, they don't scale how giant Ikusa Tsunagi is. I don't think they do. They might at the end. I'm gonna skip over this. Okay, yeah. Like, it makes sense. It's one of those ones I actually do like. I do like when they do these videos, because I don't really care for like how Death Battle does their thing. I disagree with them probably more often than I agree with them, especially obviously one like this. But I do like when they do the openings of like the fights to the way that makes sense, and like the, you know, Natsu going to hunt down like Ace, who Ace is a criminal, he is a pirate. So it's like a fight that would make sense, like it could happen. I always like that. So this is an important thing that happens, is that Ace being made of fire doesn't matter. Like, when you have a character generally, like if Natsu was against somebody like I'm trying to think of another Loki right off the top of my head, Kizaru. Like, Natsu has ways to hurt him with like how broken Natsu is, but when it comes to just like if he went up to go punch him with Kizaru, obviously Kizaru's light, he's gonna, you know, just do normal elemental intangibility things. But Slayers are really powerful against their own element, and one of the reasons is Ace being able to turn into fire doesn't mean anything, because Slayers can touch their element like their physical matter. So Ace having the ability to turn into fire doesn't mean anything if Natsu can still grab him when he turns into fire. Like, it wouldn't... like, Natsu is a hard counter for somebody like Ace. The only thing Ace actually has on Natsu is general stamina. Because One Piece does have really good high physical feats and high stamina feats. And there's like, what was that? I think it was Ace and Jinbei fought for 5 straight days. That's a really good stamina feat. But, again, Ace would literally be throwing attacks at Natsu that he would just eat, get his magic and stamina back, and keep fighting. So if Natsu could just keep going, even in the idea of what Ace has on him, like, it really doesn't matter. And like I said, this one's actually way shorter than I thought it was gonna be. Like, I'm gonna pause it. I want to see what their whole, like, I am gonna pause it really quick, but and then I'll kind of have their outro thing. I wanted to say, because when it comes to this one, I remember watching it, and there's a lot of people that I've seen over the long years of, I think when Fairy Tail was a lot less known, when he was popular, because, you know, the anime got popular. I remember when the anime first kind of, you know, started and was getting big, and obviously, like, Natsu being a, you know, fire main person, he gets compared to other fire people. That's like just kind of like a basic go-to when you, like, I want to have a character fight another character. You go for like something very similar about him. Like, I'm sure everyone's seen like a million times, you've had like Gaara versus Crocodile or something. But like the thing about Gaara versus Crocodile, like, is in the difference between like this match is Gaara versus Crocodile, it's 2 sand manipulators. One of them though can turn into sand. But the thing that makes us, like, there's like the question obviously of like, could Gaara control Crocodile, like his body, since he's made out of sand? You know, would it be different because Crocodile like has his own conscience, it isn't just kind of, you know, inanimate sand? But with Slayers, they have their ability to not only consume somebody else's elements, consume it specifically what their element is, if it's they have, like, their enemy has the same type, but on top of that, they're getting magic and stamina back. So it's a buff. And not only that, they can break a threshold to unlock like a power-up form that drastically increases like their stats. That is one of the things about Slayers. Like, Slayers in general, like, their magic is good. Regardless of who they're against, their magic is good. But there are times where their magic is just has that bonus perk. Like, Dragon Slayers against dragons in general, okay, they have the ability to damage dragons, get past their kind of like dragon scaled nullification of magic. Whereas if it's against their element, they have a good bonus, or against their attribute if you run into like weird Dragon Slayer types. But you know what I mean. This was never really a fight. Like, Natsu countered Ace like hard, and Natsu not only countered Ace, but Natsu like surpassed Ace in like essentially, like I said, every category except for Ace has higher base stamina. But Natsu essentially against Ace would have almost unlimited stamina, even if Natsu somehow just didn't manhandle him at the start, because like I said, Ace's ability to turn into fire doesn't mean anything if Natsu can physically touch the fire because of his power. So it really isn't comparable. Like, Natsu was like on the level of like where Ace was in terms of stats back in like the Grand Magic games in base, not even counting Lightning Flame Dragon mode. And then Natsu just in general has ability counters against him. And even if now, like, you had something kind of like how Crocodile somehow got absurdly stronger over the, like, you know, arcs later. Like, if there was like a part where it was referenced of like, instead of feat shown, it's like a character compares Ace to like somebody relevant, and Ace's power level just kind of like scales upwards through new information, new statements, and maybe there's like something like, oh yeah, we only beat Ace because of X, Y, or Z. Some explanation that makes him kind of stronger just by default. It wouldn't really matter, because like Natsu now is ridiculously stronger than he was at the time of this video. Like Natsu, even like disregarding general like power increases, like Natsu after this, the point of like when this video came out, unlocking like showing that he can use Dragon Force at will, was already a massive power up. Being able to drop like a multiplier of multiple hundreds was crazy. Like, it's still a really powerful ability he can use, and like that alone changed what Natsu was already above like a majority of One Piece to like where Natsu just completely dwarfed like every character in there. So like Ace Ace doesn't stand a chance. Well, let's get into like why like their kind of like outro going over like their feats and stuff. Like I don't remember them mentioning that fact Natsu can touch Ace's fire like it's just normal.
This
Like
battle was anything but clear cut. Natsu held the advantage in speed and strength, and Ace trumped him in endurance and defense. Still, neither held
defense, no, definitely not defense.
Both were mostly immune to each other's fire attacks.
Like endurance, definitely in a limited amount, but Natsu's just would keep replenishing.
That could kill Natsu. Natsu was definitely strong enough to put Ace down. But
Ace doesn't. Ace doesn't. Yeah, they don't even mention that. It's one of those things you wouldn't even really think about if you weren't somebody who actually was more into the series. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's part of just like what Natsu can do. It's kind of like how in like if you compared it to One Piece, you know, like general stuff like Luffy has because of his power, like the fact that, you know, he's made of rubber and, you know, like lightning doesn't work on him, electricity, but it's not shown a lot. But Luffy is essentially kind of immune to like being generally squished, like when he had that giant skull, like that giant skull dropped on him, or when that guy hit him with a hammer when he was a kid. It's just one of those, like, if you tried, you can't beat him with like a plain like physical like smash. It's not gonna work. You would have to have some other power on top of it, kind of thing. It's one of those additional power things that's easily overlooked. But yeah, Natsu was just way more powerful than Ace.
The winner is Natsu Dragneel.
Okay, so yeah, this one was way easier. I'm gonna put this out, I guess. I'm trying to remember because when I'm recording, there's a couple of videos I'm just getting set up for next week. But I'll probably put this out somewhere around the 24th. I think that'll be really good. That'll be the halfway point between the two chapters. I just as to the secret bonus to the people who stay to the end. This is made on what is it, the 17th, so it'll be made on the day that this chapter came out. So by the time this one comes out, and you get this far, it'll be like, oh sweet, you're right, we're already halfway to the next chapter. So sweet. Anyway, other than that though, comment below, tell me your thoughts are about this. I feel like this one is really easy. This one is really obvious, and it's while they downplayed Natsu, they really didn't give Natsu kind of like that level of power he should have been at, because this was already well in the Alvarez arc when this was happening. This wasn't like at the beginning of the Tartarus arc. This was well into Alvarez, so we had Spriggan level feats like happening. So anybody who isn't like more adept to Fairy Tail knows like that's a high level. Like that's like super broken powerful wizard level, and Ace wouldn't stand a chance against like any of them. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, but further like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.